Oh. Narayana. 10 devas one day had gone for a hike. And as they're hiking around a valley, they wanted to get to the other valley. And to get to this other valley, there was a body of water that they needed to cross. Now, these devas are not adept at swimming, and so there's a lot of trepidation before they got into the water, but they really wanted to get to the other side. So slowly and steadily, they all went into the water and they all crossed over to the other side. And as their hearts were beating and their lungs were panting, they were looking around, and someone felt that someone was missing. They wanted to make sure that everyone made it out of the water. So one of the devas started to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And he said, one didn't get out. One of the devas drowned. And now they're all frantic. So another deva pushes this one out of the way and says, you don't know how to count. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it was confirmed that one of the devas had died. And so they're all feeling really bad. They're crying. And there was a devi who was watching this whole scene unfold. So she goes over there and says, Devas, why are you sad? Why are you crying? And they explained what had happened, that someone had passed away. It's a tragedy. They were just hiking. And she said, oh, let me try counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She brought that last deva back to life. Truly, she's Devi, and they all prostrated to Devi for bringing back that last deva to life. Funny story, right? This story is about us. We are what we're seeking, isn't it? We keep talking about Brahman. We keep talking about Atma, Bodha. And as we keep studying this and talking about it, where do we keep looking for joy? Where do we keep looking for the self? I think she's joyous. I think the self lives in a different city. So if we're laughing at this story, we should also laugh at ourselves out of fairness, isn't it? You are what you're seeking. All that we need is guidance to take our eyes from articles, beings, and circumstances to look more closely at who we are. Last week, we studied Shloka 41. And in Shloka 41, we talked about the Triputi, the 3 factors that go into all of our experiences. And these 3 factors are different. The knower is different than the known, and the knowing is different. But if you think about yourself, you think about being you, this is akhanda. This is unbroken. From the time you became aware of you to the time you will become unaware of you, this you-ness has never changed. There is no 3 factors when it comes to being you. And this is what Acharya Shankara is trying to teach us, that as long as you're extrovert, there will be separation. But when you become inward looking, there will only be oneness. And our sutra is, live light like light. Live light means live more of a light-hearted life. A light-hearted person doesn't depend on articles, beings, circumstances. They will be like that light that is referenced in the shloka that is independent. In shloka 42, Acharya Shankara brings in the idea that there's a lower self and there's a higher self, and the lower self has to work its way up to the higher self. And the comparison is given of a arani, these cups and this rod, and this is spun to create fire. Historically, in the Mahabharata, the Pandavas chase after this deer that has stolen their arani in the forest. And this deer is actually the Yaksha, that is Yudhishthira's father, who is testing the Pandavas, testing their nobility. Did I lose you in that? Just know the Yaksha Prashna involved in arani. That's all you need to know. All right? Simplifying this shloka, the more sadhana you do, the more sadhana you will do. The more you start to immerse the ego in the self, the more you will want to immerse the ego in the self. That's the fire of knowledge, that I don't want to be limited. I don't want to be dependently joyous. And the Sutra 442 is, lift yourself above restlessness. Taste the joy of calmness, quietude, stillness. Lift yourself above restlessness. 43, we brought in a lovely word, aruna. We have lots and lots of arunas in our classes and aruns. Aruna, arun, in this shloka represents right thinking. When right thinking comes into our lives, we are freed from wrong thinking. And what is some examples of wrong thinking? What are some examples? When you hear gossip, trying to find out what that gossip is about. Wrong thinking. That's gossip. There's no rightness about it. Why do you care about that? Wrong thinking. Struggling to change someone, resisting to accept someone, that is wrong thinking also. There's only darkness then. But with this right thinking, what comes next? Knowledge. What comes next? Experience. Experience of that light. The sutra for shloka 43 is, momentum frees up potential. Momentum frees up potential. Some momentum builds more momentum. And the last shloka we studied, shloka 44, we discussed this abharanam, this ornament of the neck, swakanta abharanam, that I keep looking for a necklace. I'm looking for my necklace, and I've looked everywhere but my own neck. I'm looking closely at your neck, but I'm not looking closely at my neck. And I always feel incomplete. In Sanskrit, the saying is, yavat praptavyamasti, tavat kartavyamasti. As long as you feel you have to gain something, so long you have to do something. But when I come to the realization I have nothing to gain, I don't have to do anything then. I become the most dynamic worker. A dynamic person is someone who works without reciprocity, without thinking about what they get. They're just giving and giving and giving. We just completed a satsang here in London on making sense of stress. And the way to deal with stress when it comes to people using you is to be more giving. And one never feels they're being taken for granted. And the sutra for 44 is, we are born from brilliance. Born from brilliance. We are not born small-hearted. We are not born from ignorance. We are born from infinity, which means we are infinity also. Shloka 45. Sthanau purushavad bhrantya krita brahmani jivita krita brahmani jivata jivasya tatvike rupe tasmin drishte nivartate sthanau purushavad bhrantya krita brahmani jivata jivasya tatvike rupe tasmin drashte nivartate. Sthanau purushavad bhrantya. Sthanau here means post. And due to bhrantya, due to delusion or confusion, purushavad, I see something that looks like a human. And really that means I see a ghost. When there's a post and I don't see clearly that this is a post, I project that this is a ghost or that which is like a human. And when we say that which is like a human, you never picture your mother there, correct? You don't picture a police officer that is there to help you. We always project one who is there to scare us, one who's there to hurt us. Doubts hold us back. And this universal experience of seeing something that is there that is not there, do you move towards that which you can't see clearly, which you don't understand? Such a doubt holds us back. When a couple of people are speaking in a language you don't understand, do you commit more to understanding that language or do you back off more? I think we back off more. We feel like they're talking about me right now. That's why they're not speaking in English or Hindi or whatever language it is. That doubt holds us back. And that's just for a conversation between two people. That's a physical sight. There's a mailbox over there and I think there's a person over there. Just imagine the doubt that infinity doesn't exist, or I'm not the nature of joy, how much this would hold us back. Krita Brahmani Jivata, just like in Brahman, there is the mistake, there is the confusion that there is a jiva. There is a error, there's wrong knowledge that instead of I being the self, I is the ego. Instead of me being united with the substratum, which is existence, awareness, joy, all that I perceive or feel is the world that grows, the world that dies. Just like in infinity, I feel finitude. There is no ghost, there's only a post, correct? There is no finitude, there is only infinitude. What is being experienced is bhranti, confusion, delusion. What are we supposed to do? Jivasya tatvike rupe. On this jiva, tatvike rupe, we have to find what is the actual nature, the tattva, the fundamentals of this individuality. And when we do, that jiva will go away. That individuality will be dismantled. And sharing this differently, what should you do with fear? Face your fear. When you face your fear, that fear fades away. But as long as you don't face the fear, you turn away from that fear grows, doesn't it? That fear chases you. But once you face that fear, we realize it wasn't that intense. It wasn't that hard. Someone you're very afraid of interacting with, talking to. Once you face that circumstance, you actually get to know that person. You come to appreciate the mind games you were playing towards that person. Correct? What about this Atma Bodha course? You were afraid. I can't spell Atma Bodha. What is this Zoom that we use? And now we're almost finished studying Atma Bodha. Following is a different matter, but studying Atma Bodha. That fear fades away. Puja Swami Tejomayananda often shared that Maya cannot handle introspection. Once you introspect, once you sincerely question Maya, Maya runs. Maya disappears. But we don't introspect, we extrospect. I know that's not a real word, but you understand what I'm trying to say. We inspect the outside instead of inspecting the inside. What is life? Who am I? But if you do, tasmin, in that same place where the jiva was, drishte nivartate, that finitude, that smallness that we experienced, nivartate, we don't experience that. We come to experience what we always were, independently joyous. And the example that Swami Chinmayananda writes about is like a dreamer who wakes up. You have to contemplate on this example. When we wake up from a dream, where does that dream go? That dream rolls up as if into the waker, and there is only the waker then. And another way to look at this is like light. When there's darkness and you bring a light there, you turn your headlights on in a car, where does that darkness go? It rolls up into itself. It's not there. The sutra for Shloka 45, divinity is in the details. You've heard the opposite before, correct? The devil is in the details. How many of you have heard that before? The devil is in the details? Okay, but we don't believe in the devil, so divinity is in the details. It's this detailed study, the detailed reflection that the divinity comes to become real. And not just a theory, not just an idea, but my own experience. The details. We've completed 45 shlokas. How many thoughts are there in 45 shlokas? One. One thought with 45 different angles, or 45 different cuts to this diamond. One. Next shloka. Tattva swarupanubhavat Utpannam jnanam ajnasa Aham mameti cha jnanam Badate digbramadivat Tattva swarupanubhavat Utpannam jnanam ajnasa Aham mameti cha jnanam Badhate digbramadivat. Acharya Shankara says in 46, Anubhavat, experience, rupa, the form, whose form? Swarupa, your own form, which is tattva, which is like the divine, which is like joy. And you can take the word tattva to be absolute, but here we're going to take it like the absolute. Every one of us has experienced joy that has come not from the outside but from the inside through study, through contemplation, through service, through giving, through being patient. Correct? When you lived a virtue, so it's no longer a value, but you're living that virtue, where did that joy come from? From yourself. That's tattva, like tat. Sattva, like sat. Experience. Pay attention to your own experience. That your happiness, your whole life, has not come from anywhere but yourself. And the more we reflect on that, the more we become independent from people's words, from success and failure. Stress doesn't touch us at all then, if we come to a very light level. Stress is the lightest emotion that shakes us. Utpannam jnanam ajnasa. Immediately there is jnanam. Utpannam, this grows, this manifests, this is experienced. Right thinking, so I'm realizing that the source of joy is myself. That's right thinking. With right thinking, there is experience. There's experience of joy, and the more experience I have, the more insight there is to the source of that experience. So thinking, experience, insight, and you can reverse this too. With right thinking, there is insight, and with insight comes experience. So with right thinking, I come to experience my joy, and the more joy that I experience, the more insight I have that I am joy. That's how Acharya Shankara is sharing it in this shloka. But I want us to understand this can move in the other way too. With right thinking, you have the clarity, the knowledge that you are joyous, and then you experience that. Knowledge fuels insight, or experience fuels insight, and insight fuels experience. And this is all immediate. This is all immediate. With enough mananam, nididhyasanam becomes easy. With enough reflection, contemplation becomes natural. Aham mama iti cha ajnanam. I know without a doubt that the idea of aham, I, and mama, mine, is wrong thinking. I and mine is wrong thinking, you and yours is wrong thinking. As soon as you bring in I, there has to be my, correct? And with my comes yours. And with yours comes comparison. With comparison comes jealousy. With jealousy comes insecurity. And this all started with I, the wrong I. As I was looking at this line today, I was thinking about a Shakespearean play that we had studied in school, and a line that I always remember. I wrote it down so I don't get it wrong. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. So first I deceive. Who do I deceive? Myself. And then what comes with that deception? A whole web of more deception. And who started this? I did. Which means who has to end this? I do. All the sorrow in my life? Because of me. All of the joy in my life? Because of me. We're lost in this web we're weaving because we're deceiving ourselves. Deceiving ourselves in still misvaluing satsang. That we still make a class or a meeting or cleaning or whatever we do more important than satsang, than a course. That weave has got us pretty tight. But when we make this a priority, it's because I've experienced the joy of satsang, the joy of seva, and on and on and on. Badate dig brahmadivat the ignorance of I and mine is released with right thinking and experience and insight, just like being directionless is rectified when you're given one direction. If someone tells you where east is, then you come to figure out the other directions. Swami Chinmayananda says, when you see where the sun rises, you know that's east, so you know where west is, and you can figure out the other directions. Bhadate dig brahmadivat. When we start to have vairagya, when we start to become independent of I, of this ahankara, we become free. But as long as I is there, that small I, the confused, deluded I, as long as that is there, there will be a weave. I will never know what direction to move in. Once I start to renounce that small I, that this is not me only, there is a deeper, higher I. With that renunciation of ego, I am free. Here's the sutra. No separation means all directions. No separation means all directions. Only if we're separate is there east and west, is there you and I. But if there's no separation, then there's no I even. There's only existence, awareness, joy. All directions then. There's not just one direction. There is infinitude. All pervading, all present, all powerful. Oh.